All right, good morning. How you all doing? Karibuni sana. Hope you're all well. Glad that you could join us this 20th day of February 2025 from whichever part of the world it is that you're joining us from. Karibuni sana. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. And we do hope that you're going to be having a lovely day today on the chat and in everything else that you're going to be doing. So John Bogo is my name for the sake of guys who are joining us here for the first time. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex, like we always say, is a trading unit. So it's not a one-man show. We do have the rest of the team here. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them on the chat box. The team will be getting back to you. But of course, that goes out to the guys who are going to be joining us when we're live here. In case you're going to be joining in the rebroadcast or watching later on when you're not live, make sure that you do leave a comment on the chat box. The team will get back to you. But also remember to like and subscribe and also turn on the bell notification so that you will be notified anytime we do go live. So we're going to jump straight into it and we're going to start off with the watch list as always. So you can't see the watch list for today in comparison to what we had yesterday. A couple of changes here and there. Hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So we're going to start off by looking at the currency pairs that we had yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list. So we're going to start off with the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, the price was somewhere within this area here. And I had pointed out that we did need to see the buyers come up aggressive and possibly get a hold, but there was clearly a problem with the buyers because if you look at how the buyers came up aggressive, there were quite a number of weeks to the upside, and the market really took an extended period of time before lifting to the upside. It's only much later on during the Asian session that the market did move to the upside, but also due to some AUD news events that came out earlier today. So the market came up, just came shy of that region there, but it seems that there was this region right here that was good enough, for the buyers to actually end up getting up until, and you can see that after that, the market has come down quite aggressively. So moving into today, fortunately, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to trade. So the next one is the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out and also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting at least the market and the big boys to show up within this area. Unfortunately, they didn't. You can see that the market had broken to the downside, held to the downside. And you can see that during the London market open at 11, price was holding just beneath that region. And the price did come down. During the US session, price was down here. The big boys did seem at one point like they did show up. I was actually really excited to see what was going to happen after that. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get the market to properly lift off this region to the upside. Also something to do with the yens. A lot of strength has come in on the yens. Not quite sure what exactly could be with that, but it's something that we'll end up seeing across the board, even as we look at the rest of the yen pairs, and of course moving into today based on that and the correlation across the board, then we've had to shift the yen to the buy side of things. So the next one is the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out right here. And the morning price was here, and wanted to see whether we could get potentially, the market maybe attempting to move to the upside, a hold to the downside, and maybe get some sort of a selling opportunity. The market just fooled around within this area, came to the downside, bounced off here during the New York Stock Exchange open, came back in within this area here, but you can see that the sellers really struggled to push the market to the downside. And of course, today, due to those AUD news events that have come out, unfortunately, that one is going to be off our watch list because we have switched to the Australian dollar. So the next one is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. Exactly what we saw on the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen, whereby the yens really brought in a lot of strength. So you can't see what the game plan was, and we're waiting to see whether we could get the big boys showing up within here. Unfortunately, we couldn't. And of course, remember, I had pointed out the moment the market breaks beneath this region to the downside, that's the end of looking for buying opportunities. Because you can imagine you keep fighting and you're hitting buys and the market is constantly moving against you. you're just going to be incurring unnecessary losses. And, at that point in time, you're just really fighting with the market, which is not necessary. So the next one is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere within this area at around 9-10, which is around the time we do these sessions. Price has just come back in within here. It seems like it bounced off this area quite a number of times. In fact, it seems like some sort of an SNR was actually holding somewhere within here. And it seems like the buys were actually working off here, but we did want to see price break above this region to the upside and actually hold, which we couldn't properly get. And you can see that right now the market is coming down. So moving into today, fortunately, not really a currency pair that we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some opportunities. The next one is the euro against the US dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. You can't see the three areas I had pointed out. So in the morning when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere here, just came shy of that region there, then came down, all through the London session from 11. Then the US session, there was some slight pullback that came in, which was quite nice. And you can see that the market just tapped back in within this region here before giving another selling opportunity during the US session. So this one wasn't too bad. Of course, not the very clearest of opportunities, unless you are reading that on a smaller time frame, but at least we're expecting to see lower lows and lower highs, and that did end up being the case. So last but not least, in terms of the currency pairs for review, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, the buyers was to try to see whether we could get sells. You can see the morning price was somewhere here. The buyers had come up quite aggressive, wanted to see the market calm down to the downside of this area, and that's what I illustrated here. So the market did calm down and actually held within here. And after that, you can see that there was a sell. So it's exactly more or less, what we wanted to see. So price came down off that region, held to the downside, attempted to even go up, couldn't. And you can see that the market did calm down quite well, tapping back within there. Definitely did need to manage your trade within that area there. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs we had yesterday that unfortunately did not make it to our watch list. So we can look at a couple of screenshots that we did get from you guys. So we'll start off with this one from Bravin. So this is on silver. So I can see that you got a selling opportunity somewhere there. Stop loss already beneath your point of entry, which is good. Don't know where you're targeting, but hopefully you did manage your trade somewhere within here, because I know that silver did do the turnaround somewhere off this region right here, started to move to the upside. But in terms of money management, where you got the sales high up there, that's really good. So shout out to you, Bravin, and of course, keep up the good work. So we also did get some screenshots from Dan Bickett, as always. So this is on the UK 100 or the FTSE 100. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity on this one. Not really something that we ever look at, but it's good to see that you got the buys down here. Quite an aggressive buy, if I do say so, especially in the face of, these sellers who are coming down within this region. But Dan Bickett, I know you're a real cowboy. So you got the buy there, market side coming up. You brought up your stop loss a bit higher. Maybe even your stop loss could be somewhere within this region here. But nonetheless, quite an aggressive entry. Good to see that you did survive on that one, and of course, keep up the good work. So you also did get the NAS 100. So you can see that you got a handful of buying opportunities on this one as the market was going up. Stop losses, I think, for all your trades are somewhere within this area here. And I can see that price was approaching an SNR within that region. Hopefully, you did do some money management there. So also some good trading. Also good to see that, you're scaling in as the market is, moving up in your favor, and of course, proper stop loss management. So you also did get the Dow Jones or the US 30. So I can see that you got also on this one a couple of buying opportunities down when the market was within this region here. Maybe as the market was coming up, hopefully, and I can see that your stop loss is already above your point of entry and you're targeting somewhere within this region here. I can see that you have some sort of an SNR. Hopefully, you did do some money management there anyway, even as the market was continuing to move up in your favor. So shout out to you for that, Dan Bickett. And of course, keep those screenshots coming. Always happy to see your progress on the charts. So we also did get a screenshot from Esther. I think this is the first screenshot we've seen from you. So this is on the euro against the US dollar. So I can see that I think you're really trading this one a lot yesterday, because I can see a couple of trades within here and also within here that you did end up, either closing or whatever, but it's good to see that at least you're killing it on this one, and I can see that you're quite happy with this trade. Got the sell somewhere within here on the pullback, which was very good. So shout out to you for that. This was some very, very good trading. And in as much as you're very happy, the only problem with this trade is that they can't quite see where your stop loss is. So of course, when the market is down within here, in terms of entry, this is spectacular. But in terms of stop loss management, maybe your stop loss needs to be somewhere within this region right here, at around 0.04290, somewhere within that area there, because the market can also pull back within this region, then maybe continue coming down. But in terms of entry, very good. In terms of stop loss, maybe you just need to pull up your socks a little bit. But of course, like we always say, the only way to learn how to trade is to trade. So at least if you're getting the trades in, it's just a matter of making sure that every day you're improving on your trading and you should be good to go. So Esther, keep up the good work, but just make sure that you factor in the money management aspect and the risk aspect. So moving on into the next one. So this one is from George. So this is on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So I can't see on this one, you got a sell somewhere within here. And I can't see that you did manage your trade within this region, which was a region where we do have buyers. And of course, when the market came to the downside, can't see that your stop loss also came beneath or within your point of entry, which is good. Hopefully, you're still hanging on to this trade, because I know the yens are really showing a lot of strength. So hopefully bado unaanguka nayo, and see how far you will actually end up going with that trade. But that was a very, very, very good trade. So last but not least, also from George, this is on gold. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity on this one, somewhere within this region, market moving high up, stop loss just beneath the buyer who's actually pushing the market up and definitely giving the market, enough room to do its thing. So shout out to you for that, George, as well. So shout out to Dan Bickett, Bravin, Esther, George. You guys did well on the charts. Remember, guys, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the video description. Whether good or bad, remember, it's not a competition. We don't name and shame. Per se, at least if we do see something wrong, we will give you the much needed advice. You don't really need to struggle alone. Make sure that you do use us as a resource, and we'll definitely give you the much needed insight that you need, even to make you that much better in this game. So also remember to reach out to us with the same contact details in case you have any issues, and we'll see how best we can end up helping you. So shifting gears into matters today. So you can see the watch list right there. This is what it's going to be looking like. Hopefully you can end up taking note of it. So this 20th day of February, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on the Great British Pound, the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, and the Australian dollar, mixing and matching that up with everything on the sell side. And you can see on the indices and on the commodities, there isn't much of a change on that front. And we'll be looking at that towards the very tail end. So we're going to start off with the GBP pairs. So we'll start off with the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. You can't see the three areas I had pointed out. Yesterday, the GBPs were not really showing that much strength. I know there were some CPIs that came out for the GBPs yesterday. I think there were some CPIs, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, here they are. So they actually came out strong, and we're expecting to see the strength come in. That didn't show up during the London session. We're waiting for the US session to see what was going to happen. Also during the US session, there wasn't anything that did happen. So I don't know what the big boys are thinking, but we will be waiting to see whether we will be getting that strength coming in today, because all indications are saying that there should be strength that should be coming in on the GBPs. So yesterday was a bit of a waiting game. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. It came up higher, tapped within this region. The sellers came down, pushed the market back within here. But after that, it's like the buyers just didn't have anything to say. So let's wait and see if maybe we could get price. Either it might attempt to come lower, maybe to incite more sellers to come in. Then if we get something like that, I think there could be some buying opportunities. Price could just tap in within this region here, maybe just go a bit lower than this, I'm thinking, Or if that doesn't end up happening and the buyers just don't come in, I think we could get price maybe tapping within this region before we get the market moving to the upside. So watch out for that. Also remember that in case the market breaks the red SNR to the downside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So the next one is the euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. And you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. So yesterday at a time like this, price was somewhere within this region here, and we're expecting maybe to get price coming back in within there. Unfortunately, it did not, and you can see that price just hovered within this area. You couldn't really get some proper selling opportunities within here because we're only looking at a risk to reward of about 12, 13 pips. If you're going to be looking for a proper risk to reward on that, then that means that you possibly need to have your stop losses extremely tight, which maybe even the broker might not really let you do that. So for this one, hopefully we'll get a proper pullback coming in back within this region here. And in as much as the market is fooling around within this area here, and we do have some sort of an SNR, maybe a minor SNR within this region that's holding the market, but hopefully we can get the buyers maybe coming in, incite more buyers to come in, then maybe we could get some proper selling opportunities happening on this one. So let's see what happens. Also remember to watch out for the times, like we do always keep on pointing out. So we do have at around 11 4, 5:30 potentially to end up getting those selling opportunities happening. So let's see what happens on that one. But remember the red SNR at the top, in case the market breaks above that region to the upside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Also an illustration of what to expect. The market came in a bit lower. So you can see that price came in almost tapped somewhere within this region here before making some sort of a turnaround to the upside. But you can see that the buyers really struggled to push the market to the upside. And right now you can see that the sellers are really pushing the market quite aggressively to the downside. So for this one, for today, the areas are the same. Let's hope that GBP strength is going to be showing up today. And let's see what happens within this region. I'm thinking also based on how the sellers are coming in, they might attempt to break this region to the downside, but we'll definitely wait to see whether we can get some sort of turnaround, within this region at the bottom right here. If that does end up happening, then I think we could potentially get some very, very good buying opportunities down within here. So let's wait and see. But also remember, in case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, for the GBPs, we do have the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So this is a new entrant on our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So those are the three areas that we've mapped out. So right now the market is attempting to make a move to the upside, but it's okay. Don't really end up chasing, because remember there is also some sort of a minor SNR within here. You can see that the sellers pushed the market to the downside quite aggressive. I mean, even if we don't get price coming back in within here, it's okay. If it breaks above this region to the upside, we get some sort of a pullback. In fact, this buy here might even end up giving you lesser issues compared to this one, because you'll still have to watch out for this region here. Because, I mean, if the market can't make or break above that region to the upside, then there's a possibility price could be coming back in lower within these regions here, or maybe even all the way down to within here. So let's wait and see what happens on this one. Also remember to watch out for the region at the top. It's definitely an area where you will definitely need to do some money management. If it breaks to the upside on the pullback, you can look for more conservative buying opportunities. So that's pretty much it in terms of the GBP pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the card pairs. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. Same case as today. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. We're expecting maybe price to break above and hold within this region, maybe even some attempts to break to the downside, which visually we would have seen. And if they were unsuccessful, then we would have jumped in on the buying opportunities. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market went up, came down, held to the downside. You can see that at 4 price was actually beneath and holding beneath this region to the downside. And you can see that the sellers actually started their journey coming down. Right now, we're back within this region. We haven't yet quite seen any buyers just yet, because you can visually see that there's no sign of any big buyers. The market is just more or less holding within here. But let's keep our fingers crossed and wait and see what happens. Maybe during the London session, we could potentially find the big boys showing up, especially if they do show up. Maybe even attack, these sellers who are sitting within here, because those are the sellers who are actually holding the market. On their next push, if the market actually struggles, I think we might actually end up getting a buying opportunity. We could target high up there, but just make sure that you also watch out for quite a number of SNRs, that are here, especially in regions where you can visually see the sellers have actually pushed the market to the downside. Those are areas that you should map out and make sure that you're ready to do some sort of money management. So let's see what happens on this one. Also remember, in as much as you're going to be watching out for the times, also remember to watch out for your risk as well. So don't end up over risking on any particular setup that you end up seeing, no matter how good it looks. Things can always turn around for the worse. So moving on into the next one, this is the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. You can't see what the game plan was yesterday. So price was here. We're just expecting maybe to get price coming back in within this region. Unfortunately, it did not. It seems like this price and this scenario here was good enough for the sellers. During the London session open, you can see that the market came down, tapped within here at 4. Price was down within a buyer's region. It wasn't a good time to look for the sells. And you can see that price did actually start to move to the upside. So for this one, for today, the levels are the same. Price has not really moved far and beyond what we were watching out for yesterday. So the story is still the same. Price is now back within this region where we wanted to see it yesterday. We just need to see a sign of the big sellers showing up, and hopefully we should potentially end up getting our selling opportunities. Let's say if the market doesn't end up going up, because you'd expect maybe price to come back in, big sellers to show up, then the market struggles within here, then potentially end up coming down. You can't see that there's a wick within here. And if I do zoom in, you will see that. And I know many of you do know how to recognize pin bars. So we do have a pin bar within here. The sellers have come down, which is okay. But right now, since we're holding within some sort of a buyer's region, and we're more or less back within this SNR, and that's the SNR that's giving issues. So if you do get an aggressive entry somewhere high up within here, you just still need to watch out for this area. But I think if you want to be a bit much more safer, wait for the market to break to the downside. If it pulls back in within this region, this sell here will potentially give you lesser issues compared to this one right here. So this one is more or less for cowboys. This one for people who want to play it a bit more safer. You could potentially end up taking the second option. But let's see what happens. And of course, it's all dependent on whether the big boys, are going to be interested in that one. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. Can't see what the game plan was yesterday. Price was somewhere here. And of course, we're expecting maybe to see something to tell us to look for the sells to come down. Can't see that there was a fight that was going on within here. The market went up, came down, just came shy of that area, came to the downside, tapped this area again during the US session, attempted to come down lower, but unfortunately, price just couldn't get past this region to the downside. And you can see that today the market has gone up. Maybe it could be something to do with the NZDs, because sometimes they do follow what the AUDs tend to do. But since fundamentally there's no reason as to why, the NZDs are showing strength, we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it could be based on what happened yesterday. You can see that the buyers really stepped up within this region quite aggressively. Maybe they need to do another attempt, to break their previous record, which is this one right here. And maybe if they can't, I think that's when we'll get the sellers really coming in. So this might potentially end up being some sort of incitement. We'll have to wait and see. But the one thing that we do know for sure is that for as long as price is holding above this region to the upside, we're definitely not going to be looking for any selling opportunities. So if the market comes down, taps within here, I think this incitement might actually bring in a good amount of liquidity and volume into the market. So let's wait and see what happens. Remember, in case the market continues to rally up higher and higher, then at that point in time, there definitely will be no trade for us on that one, and we'll have to look for opportunities elsewhere. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. We will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one as well. So this one has already started coming down, which is okay. But remember, we don't really need to chase, don't really hit the selling opportunities right now. You can see that we're coming back in within some sort of an SNR within this region here. The market can easily bounce off this region to the upside. So you could find that all through the London session, you could be having some sort of a pullback, and it's just a matter of waiting, because maybe at around 4-5:30 price could be back within here, and you could get that proper selling opportunity. That could be one option. The other option is you're better off waiting for price to break beneath this region to the downside. If we do get something like this, then I think you could potentially end up trying to see whether you could get your selling opportunities somewhere within this region here. But looking for the sales within this area, it's a bit of a tight squeeze. And, we're also getting within a region where we do have some buyers. We first need to see evidence that they've been cleared to the downside. The reason why I'm saying it's also not very good is because you might not get a proper risk to reward trying to squeeze yourself within this particular region here. So you're better off either getting the sales higher up or potentially getting the sales maybe much lower when it does breach this region to the downside. So just make sure that you do end up taking note of that. Also remember to watch out for the times, like we do keep on mentioning. 11, 4 and 5:30, you could get some very, very good opportunities then. So that's pretty much it in terms of the cards. So right now we're going to move on to the yen pairs. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So these ones are pretty new on our watch list. And you will see some very good correlation amongst all the yen pairs, because, you look at one, all of them look identical. The moves, I think when the big boys do end up jumping in on the yens, they always do jump in on all of them, at the same time, whether it's for buys or for sells. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that we're going to be trying to see whether we can get sales. Right now, in terms of looking for the selling opportunities, might not really be the best time to look for the sales. We're back in within a region of support. We're not too sure whether the buyers can react off here. So it's better to just give them the benefit of doubt, because it's either the market will pull back in. Even if we don't get price coming back within here, there's also a region here that you can use to get some selling opportunities in. But of course, hopefully we get a much deeper pullback and the price potentially comes back in within this region, the better. So even if we're to get the trades from here, we're looking at about 40 pips, which is not too bad. If the market comes up a bit higher, we're looking at about 63, which is even much, much better. There's a slim chance price could get back in within here, but just be ready in case it does. At least you will be ready for that. The only time you can look for the trades within this region right here is if the market moves to the downside. So you need to give it a bit of time, then comes back in within this region. Then you see some attempts to break to the upside, which are unsuccessful. Then at that point in time, you could jump in on the sales, because right now, even if you jump in on the sales, you don't really have that much room to move to the downside unless you're a real cowboy. On the charts, I would best suggest you end up waiting for the pullback to come in. And the markets always give pullbacks. You just need to be very, very patient, and you'll definitely get a very good opportunity. So the next one, this is the euro against the Japanese yen. So this is also a new entrant on our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. So these are the three areas that I have mapped out. You can see it's similar to what we've looked at on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So we just need to wait for the pullback to come in, or potentially the market to move a bit lower. On the pullback, you see something like this, whereby the market broke to the downside, pulled back in, then at least you have some room to move. So that you see, like for this one, if you got the sales there, and definitely this is the region you'd be looking forward to end up managing, at least you have some room, to move to the downside. So if you get the sales now, you might easily end up getting stuck within this region, and it could be quite frustrating. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. It's a bit of a long shot, but in case the market finds its way there, then at least we should be ready for that and know that that's going to be the last area where we will be attempting our aggressive selling opportunities. So moving on into the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen, something similar with the rest of the yens. It's like the Asian big boys woke up to really start pushing the yens to the downside quite aggressively. So you can see this one also something similar. Prices come down, seems to have bounced off this region. Let's see if we can get the price coming back in within this region here. I think some very, very good selling opportunities could be hiding somewhere within there and at least coming down. This is also quite a decent amount of pips coming down. So it's about 30, which is not too bad. At least even if you do get a stop loss when the price comes back in here, about 10, 15, could easily end up getting a 1:2, 1:3 risk to reward on this particular trade. So watch out for that. Also watch out for, in case the market doesn't give a proper pullback, we get the market fast breaking to the downside. I think the next best sell could be down within here as opposed to trying to squeeze yourself in within this region. You could easily end up getting taken for some sort of a roller coaster ride. So just make sure that you watch out for that and also watch out for the region at the top right there. A bit of a long shot, but you could find the market back within there. So last but not least, for the yen pairs, we do have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, for this one, yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting maybe, to see the sellers maybe attempting to break this region to the downside, buyers come in, maybe some sort of a push to the upside, but consider the market held within here. In any case, we're, within a region of support. So you can see that during the London session, the buyers attempted to push the market to the upside, but they really, really struggled pushing up. They couldn't even get all the way till within there. I think there was some sort of an SNR here, the market up there, and you can't see that the market came down. Then seemed like it did probe to the upside. I was really expecting to see what was going to happen within this region, but the buyers just couldn't lift. And it seems that just like the rest of the yens, from the Asian session, you can't see that also this one has also ended up coming down. So for this one, similar situation with the rest of the yens, you can't see the correlation across the board. Seems like we've analyzed the same chart 4 times over. So I'm sure by now you do get the plan and the gist of what we should be doing. So let's see what happens on this one. The market is currently now starting to break to the downside, but I know some of you, since you're breakout traders, you're thinking it might be a good idea to chase the sells now. I would best suggest you do not. So wait and fast see if we can't get this market, maybe even coming down low. And it's okay even if you do miss out on that trade, because when the pullback comes in and it's a pullback, we can end up reading. You will definitely get a very good opportunity. And you just need to be patient. You're also not too sure whether this might end up being a probe. The market could come down, then come back up, quite aggressive and hold to the upside of this region, only for the market to start going up. And if you hit a sell there at that point in time, especially when the market comes to the upside and starts moving up, that's when you'll know that you messed up. So just be patient, wait and see what happens. I mean, even if the market doesn't come back in all the way to within these regions, there's also some sort of an SNR within this area right here that you could potentially end up using, to come down. And at least even coming down to within here, you still could get 40 pips, even if you could be targeting areas and regions much, much lower. So watch out for that. Watch out for the times. I know we sound like a broken record, but the times, you have to watch out for them, and it is what it is. So that's pretty much it for the yens. So right now we're going to move on to the last set of currency pairs, which are the AUDs. And we're going to do the same thing, mix and match them up with everything on the sell side. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one. The market has already started coming up, which is good. So we just need to be patient and wait and see if we can get a pullback, especially if you see that the market bounced off here quite nicely. Definitely seems that the big boys, to some extent, are quite interested with this one. So we just need to wait and see what happens. Remember that this being in some sort of a range, the market can still come back in within this area. So just because the market is high up here and it looks like it's breaking to the upside, the market can also come back within this region, all through the London session and maybe during the US session, especially if price is back in somewhere within here. Then I think the best buying opportunities are there. And in any case, looking at, the market structure right now, we know it's always best to buy at the bottom of a range and not at the top unless we get that confirmation. So unless the market maybe goes up, comes back in, attempts to come back into the range, and those attempts end up being unsuccessful, at that point in time, then we can look for the buying opportunities at that point in time, but you definitely need to watch out for this region right here. It will definitely be your next problem area, so at around 0.57570. So you really need to watch out for that region. So watch out also for the region at the bottom. I mean, it's a bit of a long shot, but if price finds its way there, and if the big boys do need that price, then who are we to say no? We'll just need to be ready. If the buys do happen from there, then at least we should also be ready for that. So moving on into the next one. This is the euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. These are the three areas we will be watching out for. So you can see the aggressive push by the buyers. When those AUD news events came out earlier today, the market came down, and you can see that it started its journey coming down. So we'll be waiting to see whether we can get a pullback coming back within this region here. And hopefully we get something we can read within there. We can attempt some selling opportunities, but you can't find the market also coming back within this region, especially if the market comes back, holds within this region to the upside. You could find the market pushing itself back within this region here, but also watch out for the region at the top right there. But in terms of chasing the sales now, I would best advise you do not. That's how 95% of the people in this industry get finished. So moving on into the next one. This is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, and we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So for this one, these are the three areas I will be watching to see what happens. So we do have the conservative right at the top. Let's wait and see if either we can get price breaking above this region to the upside. If the market pulls back in within here and we get a nice pullback, we can't read, especially on this leg coming down, then we can get some very good buying opportunities to go up. But right now, since the market is coming back in within a region of resistance, and you can see that the sellers have reacted off that region as soon as today morning. You can see that even earlier today, the buyers had come up aggressive. The sellers still pushed the market to the downside. The buyers seem to be coming in much slower than they did the previous time. So we generally need to give this region and these sellers the benefit of doubt. You could find price potentially coming back within this region. And if that does end up being the case, then you could get some very good buying opportunities down within this region right here. So we just need to be patient. Let's see what happens. At least any of those two options, either buys higher up there or down within here. So of course, you want to get your buys as closer to the bottom as possible, especially when that pullback happens, or if it breaks that region to the upside. But you'll generally need to watch out for the next levels higher than that could potentially give you issues. So moving on into the next currency pair, this is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, also a currency pair we had yesterday, but yesterday we were trying to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. So these are the three areas we had. We had the red SNR at the top and this one down within here. So in the morning when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere within this region. So you can see that the market just tapped within that area. Then during the London market open, the market started its journey coming down, tapped within this region right here during the US session, bounced up quite aggressively, but the sellers were still able to push the market to the downside. It was more or less holding within this area here. And I think it was up until the AUD news events came out, which did shift the tide. And of course, based on that, we're now going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one. So the buyers are already coming in. You can see the price moving up. If you look at the structure on this one, it's also very clear. In fact, this one is almost textbook. You can see that the market is in a range. So we have the bottom of the range here, the top of the range somewhere within here. In terms of looking for the buying opportunities right now is not the best time. It's only if the market breaks to the upside. And of course, if the buyers who are coming up can sustain the momentum, with which they've come in and stepped up within this region. If they do break to the upside and we're out of that range, then at least once we get a breach of structure, we can look for buying opportunities here. But right now, as things do end up standing, the best buys still remain somewhere as close as possible within here. And it's not impossible, for price to come back in to the bottom right here. We could be on the pullback phase all through the London session. I mean, right now we're approaching 11. We only have about an hour and a couple of minutes before we get to the London market open, and we're within a region of resistance. The market pushes to the downside, then maybe at around 5:30, you could easily find price somewhere within this region for it to actually end up going up. So it might be something similar to this. You can see that at 11, price was high up here. it came down at around 5:30. Price was closer, somewhere within this region, and you can see that the market pushed itself to the upside. So we just need to be patient. And of course, like we always mention, the best opportunities don't easily show up. Many people think that trading is easy. Anytime you open your MT5, opportunities are always there smiling at you. But that's not the way trading works. The best opportunities are actually very, very hidden. And you really need to be very patient to get them. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. You can see that there hasn't been any change on that front. So we're going to start off with the NAS 100. So for this one, yesterday, the bias was to try see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas I had mapped out, and also an extra region at the top right there. But I had pointed out that in case you do get the buys within here, you definitely need to watch out for that area there, because you can't see that there's a big seller who's sitting within that region. So we just couldn't get the buyers lifting off this region. Price came to the downside, so it came back in within here. You can see that during the London session, price was coming down, came down even a bit more. During the US session, I think there were some prices within here that the big boys needed, and you can see that later on, that's when the market took the turnaround to the upside. But still, the sellers within here just couldn't let the buyers through. So for this one, the levels are the same. The story is the same. There was a lot of movement to the downside and to the upside. But in as much as there are those aggressive pushes both ways, the story still does remain the same. So for as long as we're holding above the red SNR, the buyers should be to try to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. You can see that the buyers have actually worked off this region before a number of times. So we'll just be waiting to see if we can get the big boys potentially showing up once again within this area. If they do and we get the price holding above there, potentially we could get another buying opportunity to come up. Seems like the market is also starting to get into some sort of a range within this region here, especially based on what happened yesterday. You can see that price was more or less bouncing off these two regions right here. So right now we're at the bottom here. We just need to see whether we'll get a sign of the big boys showing up. So also watch out for the region at the bottom. There's a possibility the buyers might need that price. The reason why I say that is because the buyers have been attempting to push up higher off these prices within here, and unfortunately they've not been able to do that. So you could find that maybe they might need some much better prices, maybe prices lower than this, and that could squarely put prices or the price somewhere within this region, and you could find that the proper buys might actually happen off this region to the upside, maybe even to come back in and tap within that region there. So let's wait and see what happens. But remember that in case price breaks beneath the red SNR and holds to the downside, then unfortunately at that point in time, there will be no more selling opportunities. I mean, buying opportunities, but the good thing about it is that we can start to look for selling opportunities if we do get that confirmation. So the next one, this is the US 30 or the Dow Jones or the WS 30 on MT5. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some sells. So you can see the three areas or more or less four areas that I had pointed out. This one was a bonus level. So price was somewhere within here. We're expecting price to come down and hold to the downside for us to look for the sells. But I pointed out that maybe we could find price, maybe just tapping within that region. I guess not, because you can see that within this area, the sellers, I guess they really held their ground and the market did start its push to the downside. During the London session, came back in within here. And you can see that during the US session, price tapped back within this region and the buyers were able to actually retaliate, and push the market back to the upside. In terms of looking for the sells here, it wasn't really the clearest, because we'd have expected maybe price to tap back in and some sort of a pullback, but the market actually broke to the downside and just continued coming down lower and lower. So for this one, the story is the same. So the levels are the same. There isn't much change on that front. So the exact same levels we had yesterday. Of course, the buyers do seem like they are really stepping into this region quite aggressive. Even the previous time, you can see that they stepped up within this region quite aggressively. Yesterday, when the market tapped in within here, you can see that they also stepped back in within this area quite aggressively. So we will be waiting to see what happens. Of course, if the market comes back in within here and hopefully the buyers slow down, we start to see signs that the sellers are showing up within this region, and we get some sort of a hold within here, then I think we could get some very, very good selling opportunities to come down. So also watch out for this region at the top. Remember, it's a very key level for us. For as long as we're holding beneath there, we should be looking for selling opportunities. I mean, if you do get buys, like I always keep on pointing out, you can't take them, but remember that the buys, until we cross that red SNR to the upside, are counters. So don't try and go hard or go home or go hard. On the buys, make sure that you do tone down your risk, on the buying opportunities, and at least we get past that red SNR to the upside. So the next one, this is silver. So for silver, yesterday the buyers was to try to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. Some buying opportunities. And you can see what the three areas were, and also some illustrations of what to expect. So in the morning, price was somewhere within this region. We wanted to see the price maybe go up, come down, bounce off here, maybe attempt some buys. The market did come down, but you can see that the sellers also came down quite aggressively back within this region here. The buyers really struggled to push the market to the upside, and you can see that the sellers did end up pushing the market down lower and lower. And I think Bravin here did end up getting a sell on this one high up within there. Hopefully you did manage your trade down within this region here. But of course, the buyers still being to the buy side. That's the reason why the buyers, in as much as the sellers came down quite aggressively within here, they were able to contain the sellers. You can see this last push coming down aggressively, and then the buyers showed up, maintained their ground above here, and you can see that the price held within this region and now started its journey, moving to the upside. So for this one, just a couple of changes, slight changes to the levels. The buyers is still to try see whether we could get some buys, but hopefully you can end up taking these adjustments into consideration. Yesterday, we were watching out for this level, but right now we've adjusted them higher, of course, based on what the story of price is telling us. So for as long as we're holding above this red SNR, the bus is to look for buying opportunities. Right now, when the market is coming in within this region, don't really look for the buys now. You can see that the sellers yesterday reacted off that region aggressively. Also during the Asian session yesterday, you can see that the sellers had also reacted off this region aggressively. So unless you got the buys down lower, and you're managing those trades, you shouldn't really be looking for the buys up until we do possibly end up crossing this region to the upside. If we cross and hopefully we get the pullback holding above here to the upside, then at least you could try see whether you could get some buying opportunities. So let's see if we can get that happening. But remember that price can also pull back in all the way down to within this region, and you still could get some buying opportunities, or even maybe all the way down till within that red SNR. So you just need to be patient. And of course, watch out for the times. And, like we always keep on pointing out, make sure that you do stick within your risk parameters and trade with a stop loss at all times. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold yesterday, the buyers was to try to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three or more or less four areas I had pointed out. So price was here. We're expecting maybe the pullback to come in back within here. And I pointed out that there was a slight probability and a possibility price was just going to tap in within this region here. So in the morning, price first went up, came down. You can see that there was a massive probe within there. Price came back, held within this region right here. And of course, that meant that the sellers were potentially going to come in, and they did. Price came in within this region, just came shy of the area that I had pointed out, but there was a probe within here, and you can see that off this region right here, the market did actually come back in and started its push to the upside. So for this one, for today, the levels are the same. Let's see what happens. In terms of the buying opportunities or looking for the buys now, it's a bit of a chase. I would suggest you possibly don't look for the buys just yet. Let's wait and see what happens. Right now, I think gold is at the highest it's ever been. I think it's attempting to breach that region. And I think it's, let's see how far the big boys can actually end up going. So I think right now it must be at the highest level. Because I think I'd noted that even yesterday when the price was doing its probe. So we've never really been that high. And you can definitely see it's definitely history in the making. The last time price was there, definitely, I think last week or something, where it made that high. So price is definitely trying to make a go for it, but I would suggest you possibly don't end up jumping in on the buys just yet. Wait and see if you can get the pullback coming back in within this region here. And of course, if we do get the buys, no matter how high the market goes, a pullback is always necessary, because even if you hit the buys here, you're also not quite sure where you're heading and where you're going with this. And don't trade out of euphoria. I know there's a lot of excitement and everything that's going on, especially when you listen to various Forex forums, analysts and whatever. Everyone is saying that it's going all the way up to 3,000. It might, but it might also end up getting to 3,000 without you. If you mismanage the situation, at least if you wait for the pullback, then at least now target for that 3,000. You're better off than just chasing the trade right now just because people are saying that it's going all the way up. So wait and see what happens. Of course, also watch out for these other regions that we have down here. We also can't find the pullback coming in. It's a slim chance it will, but in case it does, just make sure that you're also quite ready for that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. Hopefully you've taken note of that and everything else we've discussed. So looking at the chat box, I can see a bit of chit chat. So I see Danbike there saying, good morning, Afriforex team and fellow traders. Morning back to you. I see Bravin. You're saying always a pleasure every morning to be here. Karibu sana, Bravin. Also Danbike, good to see your trades here. I see Emmanuel. Kamau there, good to see you as well. You're asking on which time frame do you draw these key levels? Well, it's we draw the story from the 1 hour time frame. So I mean, if we go on the 1 hour time frame on all the currency pairs, you will see the levels much clearer. But the reason why we go down to the 15-minute is because we want to see a bit more detail in terms of how the buyers and the sellers are fighting in the market. Because on the 1 hour time frame, it's not very clear, and you could easily end up missing out on opportunities. So we do need to see that extra bit of detail. But more or less, it's the 1 hour. And also to some extent, if things are not very clear on the 1 hour, we sometimes also go up to the 4 hour. But generally, they're more or less like 1 hour levels that we do end up plotting. So I hope that sorts you out, but I can't see that Mitch also did end up giving his 2 cents there. So I see Mark Kingori there. I'm thinking Mark Itayo saying good morning, Afriforex and fellow traders. Morning back to you. Lucy Njoroge, good to see you as well. You're saying good morning. Good morning back to you. So I hope you had a good show and that you did end up understanding everything we've discussed here. So I'm not really seeing anything much that's left there, not much in terms of questions, which is okay. It gives us time to also jump in on the charts. The Frankfurt market open is about to happen at 10:11. We do have the London session open. Let's see what happens. By the way, in terms of the fundamentals, looking forward today, and I think we can't do that as the last thing. We do have quite a number of fundamentals that are going to be coming out during the London session. This one is coming out in about a minute. We'll see what happens with the euros. But you can see that during the US session, we have quite a number of news events. The initial jobless claims that come out every Thursday are going to be coming out. Quite a number of cards that you can't see there, and we'll see how things end up going today. So make sure that you do make the most out of whatever setups the markets do end up giving us, and hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, if you get any trades, whether good or bad, feel free to send them in to us. If you do need more information, also feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are definitely there in the video description. So with that, happy trading, guys, and bye for now. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. May the pips be with you. God bless.